And welcome back, everybody, to the show, the Fandom Zone. Gosh, a villain's tired today. It is the most earth-shaking, groundbreaking, but never media show money taking the man, the myth, the legend, the most electrifying villain in YouTube entertainment today, Mr. General Zod. And welcome, everybody. I have been going since 8 this morning. I stopped and then I did some moving, came back. And I was like, oh my gosh, I have an interview with Tiffany today. I got to get that out. So finally, I got you on my channel. And we've been meaning to do this for a while because, it's just been with the timing. But I'm so glad to have you on here because I've found your channel interesting and you know, what you do. But I'm going to let you tell that. Introduce to yourself, to all the fine people who don't know you, who you are, and your channel.
Oh, absolutely. So my name is Tiffany Daniels. Some of you all know me as the Lady Autist over there on Twitter. And I originally started my channel towards the beginning of the pandemic. It was a request from one of my Twitter followers to start doing videos on autism stuff, and I decided to do it because there were a lot of parents and other autistic people reaching out to me, not knowing what the resources are with everything shutting down and just wanting some general information. If you go to my first few videos, that's pretty much the only thing that they are actually about, and that was my main background and what I've been doing for the last 13 plus years. So I went ahead and started to do that. Originally, what kind of got me going over into the JD versus AH is a couple of things. First of all, and I won't give them their names, but they are a couple of professional extras, and one is also a professional stuntman / handyman that's been in Hollywood circles since the 80s, happened to be friends of mine through one of the call centers I used to work at. They came over 2016 during a Memorial Day barbecue, and the female of the two just started going on this rant about AH, and I'm first of all just sitting there like, who? Literally, who is this and why should I care? And she was married to Depp. Oh, really? I thought he was still with Vanessa what's-her-face. That's how out of touch I am with Hollywood or actually care about what's going on over there in Hollyweird. But she just went off on this rant, and yeah, I talked to friends and family about it, but I never went too much further in. It was about 2019 when I started noticing how similar the trolling behavior of the people who support Amber Heard was to the same type of behaviors that we got when we were fighting the Judge Rotenberg Center back in the early 2000s. All the same tactics, same hateful sort of comments, just same victim blaming, dehumanizing behavior. And then get into the court documents, find out he's actually neurodivergent too. ADHD is considered under the umbrella of neurodivergent diagnoses. So I'm like, okay, I have to start saying something about this. So
well, that is absolutely positively amazing because, you know, I only have been coming at it from, you know, the angle that I am from entertainment, but to know that you're in a field like that and how you can give a sort of unique perspective, a different kind of take on it, which is what we're about in chat. In case you're all wondering, yes, the villain did shave. Silky smooth. I actually funny story. I'm going for a security position, so I gotta look clean cut. So I had to shave the shadow a little bit, and So yes, I just wanted to say welcome Rebecca, welcome Emma P. Is I don't want any snow. I hate snow. You can keep the snow over there. What up, Stone Cold Jeremy? Good to see you here, and everybody else, welcome. So yeah, I mean, the thing that struck me about your channel was that most people don't know this about me, but I actually worked with kids with Prader-Willi syndrome and autism, and I loved dealing with them because I've always had a thing with working with the younger generation because being in the service dealing with adults, I kind of got sick of the selfish pettiness, and working with autistic kids in general, or kids on that range of spectrum, is the fact of how everything is simple. They know what they want, right? And then and they're complex too at the same time, because the artwork I've seen, the intense focus that they can have on a particular subject, and all of that fascinated me. And to see you switch from one field like that, I said, holy shit, someone within even this community sees that, wow, this is they're doing the exact same thing. So you were saying in your field you dealt with issues, and I was really fascinated by that. And if you didn't mind, like, maybe going into this, what was people doing on your end that you said related a lot to what's going on with Depp?
Okay, so when we were starting to get into social media, and this was really before Twitter was even really a thing, but when news broke out of what happened at the Judge Rotenberg Center, and just for anybody who hasn't listened or seen any of the other streams, what happened was back in 2002, the center was busted wide open due to the fact that a mother of one of the students, this was a school for autistic kids that they got sent to either by the state or by their parents, was refused to remove his coat. So this gentleman, due to refusing to remove his coat, was then placed onto what's called a 4-point board and restrained. And he was shocked over 31 times within a 7-hour period. When they did test, these shocks were actually 3 times more powerful than that of a police taser. During this time, he was not allowed bathroom breaks. He was not allowed to eat. The few times he would break out of the restraints, they would then use these GED packs that they make all the kids wear, where they have electrodes that were attached to the wrists and the limbs and would shock him that way. So she filed a lawsuit, and it took till 2012 for the video to finally be approved to be played in court. Kind of like with JD in the beginning, the first attempt for us to get the video out there was actually denied by the courts. Once the video got out there, there was just a storm, and there was a lot of people who believed, due to the rumors, the stereotypes of autistic self-harming, believes that these treatment like this was necessary so they would not harm themselves or harm others. And we had people attacking us anywhere between denying our diagnosis due to the fact that we could communicate to social media, to just out and out calling us names. We got death threats. We had our families threatened. One girl in particular who reminded me the most of the Depp situation, her name was Amanda, who's no longer with us, unfortunately. They would try to get her to kill herself. try to convince her to kill herself. And they would just call us liars, call us monsters, call us even apologists, so to speak. This is because if they think they're self-abusing, we must be abuse apologists if we don't think they should be going to the school that is helping them. And I saw all the same disgusting behavior that was thrown at us, like you're in it for the money. We got a lot of that. That's actually still going around. The most recent conspiracy is George Soros is paying us all.
And here's the thing too, not to interrupt you but I just got to interject here because this is some really enlightening stuff, and I've experienced this stuff too. Thankfully, the facility I worked at, like, restraining a student was like you're being attacked and they are directly threatening you or, God forbid, someone visiting. Then, you would use the least minimal amount of restraint that you had to. And I'm talking like, grab the arms or whatever. Whenever we did, we were very careful about that stuff. But I never prescribed, and I never believed in the physical restraint, the straitjackets and shit like that. I never thought that was good. Shocking. I can't even believe. Look, people, I haven't seen those techniques since that movie One Flew Under the Cuckoo's Nest, or One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Like, there's a reason shock therapy has been widely discredited and not used. The fact that is going on, that is absolutely positively disgusting and vile. What's even more disgusting and vile to me is the treatment of calling you guys liars and things like that. Like, I could speak for myself. I've seen it. The most heartbreaking thing that I've seen is families with autistic kids. And I've seen a lot of wealthy families, in particular in the area I'm at. And they don't know how to deal with their kids. They love them. They come, they visit them or whatever. Some of them are questionable, but you get your here and there. But anyways, for the most part, most of the families really loved them. But the problem was they just didn't have the tools. And it was interesting because it wasn't, they think, oh, it's, the poor families are in it. There were a lot of, where I worked, there was a lot of middle class, very wealthy people, and they just didn't know what the right procedure is. And I think a lot of it was a lack of explaining what to do and having the patience. I mean, being a father myself, having patience with kids in general is just tough. But kids who have special needs or who have even just the slightest autism, if things could trigger them or anything out of order or plans get broken and they just go off, that's a tough thing for anybody to handle. And the fact that they still are in this dogmatic view that the right thing to do is to shock people. I don't give a shit what their defense is. Never in my life have I heard a good justification to shock someone. How old was this kid?
He was 16 years old.
That's disgusting. That's disgusting. Like, I understand me being big and bulky and you were restrained, but you should never shock anyone unless it's like the police and a dangerous suspect. I'll co-sign that. If you're a police officer and you got a full-grown adult who knows better and they charge you, yeah, shock their ass. They deserve to go down. But if you're talking about kids, with impairments or things like that, where they just they aren't understanding. And I learned one thing that is the biggest thing. And, I can't speak for everyone with autism because it's a wide spectrum, but I know half the time they get upset. It's not because they're trying to actually attack you. They want to convey something. And I dealt with a lot of nonverbal kids. They want to convey something to you and they're angry because they can't tell you what they're feeling, and sometimes if you don't get it right away, they get even more frustrated, and that's not their fault, and the fact that kids are treated that way, that's disgusting. And the fact they treat you guys that way, who have who are trying to get the information out there, that just shows, in relation to the Johnny Depp media, that shows how narrow-minded and fucking stupid these people are. And I'm trying to scale back, but it's really ridiculous. Like, I just think about, what if my kid was like that? Or what if someone here has a kid in the chat like that? And to know that someone could go and do that to your child, that's fucking disgusting.
It really is. And to how this kind of all relays into JD, people like us, or people with disabilities in general, but especially if you're neurodiverse, we are prime target prey for narcissists, because a good majority of us, even me to an extent, even though not so much as I got older, there is a certain naivety to us. We generally want to be able to take people at their word. We want them, because we are who we say we are and mean what we say what we mean. We want to generally believe, even people with ADHD, that people are as they present themselves to be. So,
oh, absolutely. You know what though, Tiffany? You know what? I wish I wasn't jaded and cynical from the shit that I've seen. I wish I could have that you guys have, because that's really special. It's a shame we live in a world that feels the need to exploit and take advantage of that. And hi, Jamie Bick. I worked I was talking. Okay, nice to see you here. And if you just joined us, we're talking about Tiffany and what she's doing and how she's helping a community that that needs a voice. And getting back to what you were saying and how it relates. Yeah, it's funny you should mention naivety, because that's universal, though, isn't it? I mean, you guys are more susceptible to it because you have that wonderful trait where you're able to trust and believe people right away. And the sad part about it is that is such a that's such a good human thing to have. And the fact that people would manipulate and twist that to their own uses, and then when the Amber Heards of the world and things like that, the predators of the world, it's also the reason why I became so jaded and cynical after I got out of the service, was because, it gets hard to see the good in the world. But when I hear you talk, it was a reason why I really wanted to have you on my channel. It's really great to not only hear your passion, but to know the fact that, you have that quality about you, because, it'll always be there. And as you get older, you hone your skills and you develop that ability to kind of sniff out the bullshit from people telling the truth. But don't ever lose that. I think that's a wonderful thing. Really, some people could call it a weakness, but I also think it's an asset. I think if more people in this world had that kind of ability to trust, if we could trust people at face value, my God, what a world it would be, right?
Very true. That's why I made a video on it yesterday. Everybody wants to know, why was he with this woman in the first place? How did that even happen? And a lot of people assume it was a midlife crisis. And I had to explain, when you're one of us, under one of these diagnoses, it's not, we don't view age really in the same way. We don't really think about middle age or elderly the way a normal person would. I think he was still feeling the trauma of basically leaving the woman he was madly in love with for 14 years, the mother of his kids, and they just had a split in 2010. And when you are neurodiverse and you are going through a trauma, it's a little bit different than when it's a regular human being, a regular person. Yes, they're going to feel the pain. They're going to be upset. They're going to be depressed. But an autistic person or an ADHD, we internalize that in a very special way, where that hyper focus can be very damaging. So he was extremely vulnerable, way more than the average person would think. And then here comes this person. She just sets herself there just so. Like he was swimming in the ocean with no sight of land, and she put herself there as though she was a lifeboat. And once he got on the boat, then she's like, I got to keep him here. So I'm going to pretend to be everything that he's been looking for the last 30-something years. Or he's just going to say thank you for the save and move on. So I think that's how she got him.
Magic Mayhem has a good point. True, Tiffany, but JD had a history of being with same-age women or close, and it kind of threw people. And I could kind of answer that one. Look, when you get older, and with what you said, pairing into another big thing that all of us guys go through, that we all face, and it's that midlife crisis deal, right? Look at Nicolas Cage. The man did the same thing too. He got a girl younger than himself, got nice sports cars and things like that, paid extravagantly for all of her expensive. And it's a combination of that. And, I think men and women handle it differently. And I can't speak for how every woman handles it. But for men, our first reaction is to regress to a time where we're younger and we seeing ourselves on top of the world and, kind of do really reckless and stupid things. Some people buy Harleys. Some people buy like boats and yachts and things like that to kind of compensate. But Margot, age is a mindset. I don't know. I think there just comes a point where you start reflecting, and I don't know exactly what age it could be. I guess it hits everyone differently, but I would say that there just comes a point one day where a guy sits back and he thinks about what his life is like and what he missed out on. And then he goes, damn, why didn't I do X, Y, and Z, right? And they try to cram it in like a year span. And then you wake up again one day and you go, why the hell do I have all this shit I'm not going to use? And you move along. Unfortunately, Amber came, I'm guessing, between that kind of a feeling and, him missing someone else, which that's another powerful thing. Look, when you come out of a relationship with my ex, who I had my daughter with, we got out of a rough situation. And I don't know if you guys remember, know a little band called Hinder. I listened to that CD, Extreme Behavior. Never forget the title. I listened to it there was like 13 tracks. Every day I listened from 1 to 13. I drank Jack and I sat in a room and I felt sorry for myself for about a month. So, everyone handles their breakups differently. And, I think that unfortunately for JD, like you said, he was in this rough place. He had a couple of things coming at him. He's got a couple of questions with like getting a little bit older. He broke up with the love of his life. He's got these kids. He's like, I got to be a good dad. I got to do this. I got these other obligations in Hollywood. And like any other person, bam, the next thing you know, here comes someone like Amber. She's a hot 20. So, at that time, like in her mid-20s, about there?
I think she was trying to appear to be the hot young thing with an old soul in order to pull him in. That's what I think.
Oh my God, who knows what goes on in her fun house of a mind? But yeah, and like you said, that you said it really great. She placed herself like this, this lifeboat, and he's searching for an island. And here's this person, and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm gonna be there. I'll take care of you. And the thing is, this is a story as old as time. It could happen to everyone. It's happened to men, women, hell, in high school. We went through it tons of times with people we thought we were going to love forever. And, and then we just end up in different places. So.
Oh, yeah.
It's just, so for you, when you saw this, and you started really getting into this, what was the point where you knew this was going to be what you were going to cover? And more, and how you do it really well is you relate it to what you talk about as far as with autism and all, and incorporating all of that. How are you able to kind of link these two topics together? Because it's very fascinating.
Well, I mean, they relate to one another. One thing about me, and pretty much people around my state know, I've been doing this for years. Basically, if when one of my own, anyone in the neurodiverse God, when one of my own is being attacked, when they're being harassed, if they're being manipulated, abused, or lied about, whether I know them and they're close to me or not, I'm gonna jump in. I have every single time. The other community on Twitter I'm involved in is the actually autistic hashtag, where we are bashed and attacked, and people will jump in and do the same behavior I talked about before. Call us liars, call us freaks, call us autism supremacists, which is one of my favorites.
That is the most, that word alone sounds right? so moronic. Right. I don't even know how to, Jesus Christ, people amaze me.
So I consider Mr. Depp as one of my own. He's one of our tribe, and he's being lied about. He's being harassed. He was preyed upon and abused like so many of us are. So I had to cover it, just like I did for Andre McCollins, who was what happened at the Judge Rotenberg Center. I just don't see this situation as being any different. JD was tortured by this woman. Sure, she didn't electrocute him, thank God. But it's the same thing you see throughout the community and throughout the wider disability community again and again and again. And I had to jump in to not just defend him, but to show others that this is going on, and it's still going on, and it's not really being talked about, and it's a side that nobody's really thinking of when they're looking into this case.
There was a couple of things I highlighted. First, the Glare said, wait, autism supremacist? I know, Glare, that is the most, I think I've heard a lot of ridiculous titles from these keyboard warriors and stuff, but that takes a whole new cake on ridiculously stupid titles. Like, I mean, in a sense, making that title is offensive. Even putting those words together, because they're the complete polar opposite.
The whole neurodiverse squad, all of us that are under the umbrella of diagnosis, we've been called a cult, and this was within the last 3 weeks. We were literally called a cult. So
what a terrible cult, you evil people. What are you doing?
Don't you know we're getting our money from Georgie Soros? This is the crazy, and that's what I mean. The AH people, they do the same things. What do they say? We're a cult. We're minions. We're bots. We're all from Russia. It's the same things.
Hey, I'm waiting for my Russian money to come in. I haven't got my bot money yet. I'm really upset. I want to know, do I see Putin or one of these people to get paid? Because I've been waiting for Johnny or someone on his team to give me money. I know none of us have gotten it yet. Jamie Bick says at his age, there aren't many actresses of that age that could get with him. And it's been said, relationships between actors work best because they understand the lifestyle. And that's true. Relationships in general are just tough to begin with. But when you have someone who's an actor and someone on the level of Johnny Depp, it's hard just being an artist within themselves. It's hard for artists to connect with everyday people. I mean, if you look historically, look at like the Van Goghs and and Mozart and things like that, right? They made the greatest pieces of art ever, but they were crazy. I mean, I'm sorry, they were out of their mind because of the brilliance that they were locked in. They couldn't identify, they couldn't connect with other people because their mind didn't work the same. And I've always found it really fascinating because that kind of brilliance, they say there's a very thin line between being brilliant and insane, right? There's a very thin line. So it's hard when you're that talented to connect with other people. It's like you don't know if people are there with you because you are who you are, right? That's Johnny Depp. You don't know if this person is just being with you because they're Johnny Depp. So you kind of tend to shop in that realm because you take that out of the equation, right? You're just Johnny Depp the man. You're not Johnny Depp the actor, the award winner, and all of that. Unfortunately, Amber Heard is Amber Heard. Stone Cold Jeremy said, tired of these NPC SJWs, whatever you want to call them, use words that have negative connotation to them, like supremacists or NZ or alt-right, just to shut down an argument they're losing. And I think that goes a lot with what you're saying. Yeah, I think these people don't understand the label that they use. You can't put two words together like that because just by their definition alone, they are the complete opposite of each other. Like, I got to be honest with you. When you first saw that, did that make you chuckle? Because you got to be thinking, these ridiculous assholes, like, they are so stupid. How could they put these two things together?
Well, there are some in the spectrum that are a little bit more on the extreme side, and they do exist, that believe that autism is the next step in evolution. And they point to those of us that are more on my side of the spectrum as examples. People like me, I have an 186 IQ. So they point to that, and they do kind of have a superiority complex, and they really do talk down to people who are labeled neurotypicals. So they point to that, and because there are some people like that that do have the diagnosis, they paint us all with the same brush. And then that's where the whole idea of autism supremacists comes from. I am not. I know that the significant delays are there. Yes, I have perks from having autism. That's undeniable. But there are also definite delays and definite issues that I had to work through, especially during my teenage years, to be able to be the full functioning, living on my own adult that I am now. But they will label you as that because you can communicate online. I can obviously speak for myself very well. And because of that, either A, I'm not a real autistic, or B, I am one of those whack job autism supremacists that they talk about, that every group's got their crazies, and we do happen to have ours.
And I just want to say, really, from the bottom of my heart, I respect the hell out of it. I've been in that system, and I've seen other people that are like your situation. They get to a point where we help them enough where they can live out on their own. And, we send someone to check on them every now and again. And, the typical make sure they're functioning in society okay. And, it's so glad that you're speaking about this because, newsflash, you can have people, if you freaking help them, you can have them live just as successful lives, be fully functioning, and be positive voices for their community. And this is the thing that boggles my mind, is that everybody has this fake help shit that they want to do, right? They want to get that little badge on their chest, right? And they want to say, I've helped this one and I feel good about my life and I've achieved something, you know? And
yeah,
in a
we
sense,
have a term for that. And we call them when people want to be our neurotypical high and mighty saviors. And we call it inspiration porn, when people will use us. Oh my gosh, look at this. This normal person is deigning to take this person to the prom out of the goodness in their hearts, and it's plastered all over social media. I'm like, this is not the feel-good story you think it is. Think about it for a minute.
which is hilarious, because over on the media or the entertainment side, we have that, we call it white knighting. So when the guy actors come in, and you've seen it a lot in Hollywood, and they swoop in and defend the poor and defenseless actress who says something completely stupid, and people point it out, and then they go, oh no, she really meant this. Yeah, we've got a few of those too. And that was another reason why I wanted to have you on, because this is such a great example, and really, not from a side of self-gratification, but really I have so much respect for what you do and for what you've gone through. And I can't even fathom or imagine what it was like for you when you were younger, trying to get to this point in your life. And, to sit there and think about it, it's like, wow, and if
we kind of wrap this back to the JD situation. What really got me into it, other than obviously I'm going to defend one of my own until I'm no longer breathing. That's just who I am. It's what I do. But believe it or not, we do date, us neurodiverse squad. And just like JD, my dad had passed in 2008. He had a massive coronary. And it was pretty much like I had lost my whole freaking planet. I went deep into alcoholism. And I was the main advocacy specialist for the Southwest region here at the time. And when I was working for the state, I had this family come along with this supposedly autistic gentleman, and they kind of sort of slowly inserted themselves into my life. Well, fast forward a few years after I had been completely isolated from my remaining family left, my mom, my brother, my stepdad, and all of that, there was one evening, and this is after his own mom had passed, where things kind of came to a head. His sister had been gone all day, so he was already angry and ranting. And this is a kid who was known to throw tables and throw objects when he was angry. So it was dodge, weave, and I'm going to need to drink to see through this evening, I can already tell. So there was that. So she comes home, and she calls me back into her bedroom, and we get into an argument. For 6 months, I had been the one that was feeding them, cleaning, taking care of the cats, but she was tearing into me because I didn't have a job, and she was using her mother's insurance money to pay all the bills and just tearing into me. So I just clipped back. Really, because you're the one who's here every day when your brother's having seizures and I have to take care of him, grandma after grandma. You're the one who cleans up after the cats, cleans the house, cooks the food, makes sure everyone's taken care of, aren't you? And slammed the door. And he kept bugging me about what the argument was over. And I knew he was agitated, and he tended to target his sister. Any of the violence that I would be subjected to would be always when I would step in the middle of them. So I just kept telling him, leave it alone. It was between me and her. I said my piece. let it go, but he kept bothering me and bothering me and bothering me, and finally I told him. So his reaction was to grab one of his swords off the mantle and started marching back towards his sister. So I go running after him, and they're both on the floor. She's above him. He's got his back on the ground. The sword's like this over her neck, and it's half scabbard. So I'm grabbing onto the sword to yank it out of the hands. That's when Rob tell you I got my hands cut up with a sword. That's when it happened. So I'm trying to yank out the sword out of his hands, and she is screaming at me, go call the cops, go call the cops. Like, and I'm sitting there thinking, your neck is bleeding. He's got a sword over your neck. But I do it. I go running in my pajamas and socks over to the neighbor's house, banging on their door at 3 a.m. in the morning, screaming and hollering my head off. And I went and called the cops. But long story short, after that, she ended up kicking me out once he went to jail, and she came back from the hospital calling me a liar and a whore and all kinds of things. But when they mentioned about JD getting his finger cut off and things being thrown at him, immediate empathy, because I went through that basically for 7 years, and then I dang near got my hands lopped off for trying to save the girl's life. So
yeah, oh man, that's crazy. I don't even know what to say to that. That is quite wow. And I appreciate you being able to share that. You know, when I was with one of my exes, this was after my ex who had a kid. I had another ex I immediately dated, you know, trying to get over the heartbreak, so to speak. And yeah, I went through the same thing. This girl threw pots and pans at me, man. Like I came back. I had just gotten done with training, and we met up, and I took her out to dinner and everything. And as far as I knew, everything was good. But it was one of those drinking situations. And, you know, I'm not the kind of person who drinks who gets violent. I get more goofy, pass out kind of a person. Thank goodness I fall into that spectrum. But I never really wanted to test the waters and go anywhere behind that. But she would be happy, and then, you know, the other side of the coin. And I don't know what I said. I'm pretty sure it didn't warrant it, but she threw pots, pans, my shoes at me, called me all sorts of names. And, you know, I had to get out of there. And you know, I said to myself, I was like, you know, gosh, why am I putting myself through this? So after I got deployed and everything, I decided, you know what, I'm going to just cut that off and be done with it. But at that time, I had a better out because I was leaving, you know what I mean? And most people don't have that out. We get stuck in these situations where you feel trapped, or you literally have no other place to go, and your only option is that person. And all I could say is, I'm so glad you got out of that situation. I'm glad you're doing as well as you're doing now, because those kinds of things, they take a toll on you. When I first met this girl, I was already kind of in that rough emotional spot, right? And then, you know, she had a lot of other issues and had some other things that she was on Prozac and, you know, things like that, anxiety, antidepressants, all of that stuff. And it got to a point where I was the crutch, right? And I wasn't being, when you're in a relationship, you both should be able to lean on each other for strength, right? You should both, when she's feeling down, you should be there for her. When you're feeling down, she should be there for you. But when you're the only person holding up the relationship, when you're the sole pillar, eventually the pillar crumbles. And that's what was happening. And, I wanted the happiness, I wanted everything, but it was at the expense of my own physical well-being at times and mental well-being, which is another thing too that always baffled me. It's like a lot of people say, oh, well, what do you mean emotional abuse, right? Just get over it. Oh, your feelings were hurt. The whole guy thing. You tell your friends, and they're like, oh, your feelings were hurt. Come on, man, drink some beers and get over it. And it's like, no, mental and physical are so important. You don't realize your mind controls your body. When your mind is off, the body is off. It's like a computer. That's the hub, that's the network, that's the center. So when you have something wrong with your mind, which could be affected by your emotions as well, and you internalize these things and you're holding them in so long, that affects your mental state. And that's why it's all together. And so the fact that you were brave enough to not only go through that, get yourself out of there, and then be able to come on stream and talk about it, kudos. I really applaud you. Like that's some tough stuff, Tiffany. That's some tough stuff.
Yeah, well, I mean, I like to think of myself as pretty tough. I mean, I've called myself an army brat before. My stepdad was army. My brother was army. Both my grandpas were army. So you kind of got grit. It's like almost like built into you when you come from that sort of background.
Oh, absolutely. Rebecca says at Mr. Sod's Phantom Zone, those people who did that to you, they have a special place in hell for them. Yeah, I agree. And here's the thing. My favorite quote will always be from Rocky, and I quoted it earlier to inspire everyone on Twitter, but he says, it ain't about how hard you get hit or whether you get knocked down, but it's about whether or not you get back up and you keep fighting. And I think that universally speaks to everybody. Life is going to beat the shit out of you at times. Life is going to be brutal. It's going to be tough, and it's going to be hard. And, like you and so many other people in this great community, it isn't about those initial scars and wounds and things that we all have. It's about the fact that we still get up every day. We go to work. We live our lives. We do what we got to do. And swinging that tightly around back to Amber, the reason why this fight has been as, just crazy big as it has been, the reason why it's got so many hype, the reason why all these groups and organizations and things are behind this is because of the fact that people recognize people who are in pain, who have real legitimate, who aren't bullshitting us, but who are real and genuine. You can tell someone who is a faker or a liar, and you can tell someone who's real and genuine and legit. And there's got to be something to it, because I've never in my life of covering media, entertainment, any kind of Hollywood figure, I've never seen a case so important to so many people. And, you're one of those key voices in this, and you bring such a fresh perspective to this whole entire discussion.
Well, I do appreciate that. It's just something I felt I needed to bring up, not because of just what I went through and what I've been doing for the 13 past years, but due to the fact that with the people with disabilities in general, the abuse of and the predatory nature towards people with disabilities is not nearly covered enough, nor are people with disabilities really given enough tools, do I think, to kind of recognize red flags when people are looking to take advantage of you and prey upon your money. You hear of scams, people who will handcuff, for example, some Down syndrome adults and steal their Social Security money. That was something from a few years ago. And
disgusting.
And JD is unfortunately a part of our number, one of the people who does have a cognitive disability, who was preyed upon, who was abused, who was used for his kind nature and his money, like a lot of us in that particular niche community are. And it does need to be talked about more. People, I guess, do need to have more tools at our disposal so we can recognize that behavior before it gets to the level where you're stuck in a situation like he was.
Yeah, and I think this opens up a wider thing of also bringing to light the flaws behind the MeToo movement, because the MeToo movement in general was not a bad idea. It was a good idea. It was for victims, but it got lost along the way because it became just hashtag believe all women. But that's not how it started. It was men and women that were both being abused and helping both sexes out. And then somewhere along the line, someone, as I always say, and I will continue to say, completely hijacked that movement and started using it for their greedy, grimy little own narratives and disgusting trying to destroy people with this hashtag.
And I hate to say it, and it's probably the autistic in me. We all know how as autistic people, we want our facts. We want evidence. We don't care about your hearsay. We don't care if your hearsay is even emotional. That's why I can't stand this believe all women bullshit. I can't do it. In a court of law, hearsay and emotions and how you feel about a person should not matter. What should matter are facts and evidence. You should not be convicted because she said or he said or have your past drown out. But she does he does drugs, or in my case, but she has autism, and autism people are violent, which is why I never pressed charges, by the way. I knew that would come up. I knew it would come up. And my mom just said, it's not worth it. Just get out of there. We'll help you rebuild. But I can't do this believe all women crap. I'm sorry, but if I could start a hashtag, it would be support facts, believe facts. I don't understand what's so difficult.
And I'll see you later, Rebecca. Thank you for coming by. Yeah, you know, I absolutely I couldn't say it better. That was very well put. And I've quoted that myself. The whole thing, and I just don't think it's a autistic view or my view or some random person's view. Historically, throughout time, the thing that has governed our very existence as human beings, the thing that this great country was founded on years ago, was the fact of law, right? The settlers, the forefathers, the fucking old school presidents recognized that humanity had to be governed under a body of rules that would keep people from, staying on that moral path, right? And that these rules, the rules themselves, okay, not the people, but the concepts of the principles of being decent, they had to be upheld so that society could hold. And when you start bringing in your feelings into just concrete, this is right, this is wrong, then that is where you muddy and you murk these waters that are supposed to be clear, right? There is evidence, there is facts, there is proof, and people want to skirt facts to support their own feelings. And that is not how society is supposed to run. That's not how being decent is supposed to be. Now, look, I've lived in shades of gray, okay? I was part of specialty units. I do realize there is some terrible shit you have to do that other people don't want to do, right? And all of the soldiers out there, all the people who we fight, we go and do that shit so people don't have to. And that's within its own kind of murky gray area. I understand that, but that's still in the service of my country. That is in the service of keeping people safe. And it's in the service of, I do the shit so you guys can sleep at night. That's what that is in the service of. But when you come back and civilians are being coaxed and coerced by the media to make a false assumption because they're not given all of the facts and they're not given all of the evidence and they're not given the proof, and we're sitting around holding kangaroo court. That is not how it's supposed to be. That's not fair to the people who are innocent, and it doesn't set a good example for the people who might be out there that need justice. It just lets them know, hey, if you're a guy, you're fucked. Don't even try to bring anything up in court. You're screwed, right? And that's not the message you want to send to people who have these real issues. And you can look at that in the inverse. You might have women who will get scared now because this dumb bitch ran around and said she was something that she's not. And now you're going to have the opposite effect of, well, she lied. How can I trust anyone else who's a female who brings this up, right? You're going to have those people who are now going to throw those arguments out, and it's not fair to either side.
It's really not. And she has set so many movements back by several years. It's not even funny at this point. And the fact that she's done that to the point that when other people even accuse other celebrities, the women's are more than likely not going to be believed. It's just a sad fact. Now, speaking of the media, I don't know if you've seen it yet, Zod, and most people would be like, I'm not going to talk about it. I'm not going to talk about it. Sorry, no, I'm going to do the thing about the Marilyn Manson thing that came out with Evan Rachel Wood. I'm going to say the same thing I said about JD when I first heard about it. You can come at me with circumstantial evidence. You can even tell me a couple of other women have come forward against him with abuse allegations. But until I see the facts, I'm not going to make a judgment. I don't care what kind of person he is in his personal life. Quite frankly, that's none of my business. Until the facts come out, I'm not throwing him under the bus. I'm not calling him innocent, not calling him guilty. And that's what we should all be doing. You can hate him if you want to. He's been a lightning rod for over 20 years. But being willing to call him guilty, even people in our own community, before the alleged victims come forward with evidence. We can't have one rule for JD because you're his fan and you like him and support him, and another rule for a guy you don't like just because you don't like him and you find him creepy and disturbing. You're either
I absolutely positively agree. Look, I play it across the board like that. It's like, especially with anything now coming out with celebrities, there's so many cases where supposedly there's this grand slam dunk evidence, and then it just all goes away, and it turns out to be bullshit. I watched The Walking Dead. Yes, I know. I still watch that show. I have hope it's going to turn it around the last season. Anyways, Chris Hardwick, who does The Talking Dead, he had his ex come out, say these horrendous things about him, right? None of it was true. Came out later, she was lying, and that the media was hyping it up as a tool to try to get rid of him. And he came out, and you can see it in one of his episodes. He came out and he thanked everybody because they got behind him and they go, wait, Chris Hardwick, this funny ass guy right here, this kind of skinny guy, not really that imposing, was beating his girlfriend up. This guy is the people were like, no. And come to find out, it was total bullshit. Now look, Marilyn Manson, I'm not gonna lie, I love the beautiful people. I came from that era. I like Marilyn Manson. I do.
We both watched him being called the Antichrist and
Christ, yeah. Oh my God, my mom took CDs from my room, and she goes, "What is this devil? nonsense that you're listening to. A good thing she didn't know who Slipknot was. But anyways, like, so, you know, I definitely agree with you. Before I go to make a judgment now on anyone, and Amber Heard created this situation, and I'm going to take a guy or girl, even if it's a woman who comes out and says this, I'm going to say, okay, let's backtrack. Let's find evidence. Let's find proof. Let's not throw someone underneath the bus and try them in the court of public opinion, because haven't we had enough of this? There's so many cases coming out now. I mean, I said the same thing about the Justice League, Josh Whedon and Ray Fisher. Ray Fisher has not come out with an iota of proof. WB did a full-scale investigation. They said nothing. He's still claiming that there was this racially motivated against him, and he was abusive to all these people on set. And I'd say this to you, Ray. I've followed the man since Buffy. Buffy's one of my favorite shows. I don't care. I love Buffy. Sarah Michelle Gellar, love her, whatever. I love Buffy. I love Angel. I love Firefly. I love all the great works that he's done. And I've watched cast and crew interviews, and I met Josh Whedon at a convention. None of this to me screamed a man who all of a sudden came on one project, which, by the way, Zack Snyder left a shit show, and came on and was like, okay, I'm the mighty Josh Whedon, and this is what I'm going to do. You, and you, get over there and start shooting. And if you don't, God help you. I don't believe that happened. I believe he wanted scenes in the movie. Josh said, hey, Ray, this doesn't fit in the story, and your cyborg getup looks ridiculous. So no, I'm going to give you the small role. You're still getting paid. Be happy with that. And Ray, being the prima donna that he's like, yeah, I want more roles. Zack Snyder made a whole scene for me. Well, guess what? Zack Snyder isn't here. So, I got to go and salvage this garbage. And, he did the best with what he had. Unfortunately, it wasn't much. And it's the same situation. And now, if you let people like Amber win these things, you have other people, Ray, who will come out and they'll start playing out every card they have. And it becomes a big, dumbass snowball effect where more and more people who don't deserve it get thrown under the bus, and the people who do deserve it sit there and laugh all the way to the bank. It's ridiculous. Yes, thank you, Blair. I absolutely agree with you. You and me will probably be the hated people. I made a video about that. Pop Culture PB did tons of videos on Zack Snyder. And look, I don't got a problem with the man. I like 300. I liked Man of Steel. I liked Sucker Punch, and I love Watchmen. But no, Superman's not supposed to be dark. Zod shouldn't have gotten his neck broke. I'm sorry. I took that a personal offense to that. That's like my all-time favorite character. But, swinging back to the point, Tiffany, you're absolutely right. I agree with you 100%. I'm not going to condemn the man, Marilyn Manson, on stuff I don't know to be true, or that there is no evidence, no concrete proof out yet that, it's true or not. I want to see the evidence for myself. And if the evidence is compelling, and if it does come out, or we got several people saying stuff and they're recalling events and things like that, then okay. Then, I'll be like, you done messed up, man. But until then, you're right. It's just like this JD thing. You can't defend someone so hard, and then because they don't fit into the group you like, that'd be the exact same thing of what the media does, right? They pick and choose which week and who they're going to defend. And, us as people got to be better than that. Shelley Tennant says, Mr. Zod's Phantom Zone. Don't the Josh Whedon thing start when his wife started accusing him of inappropriate actions with his female starts and they were going through a divorce? Yeah, same thing, Shelley. Yes, the exact same thing. And you know what? I'm still waiting for proof on that. There is not one shred of evidence that said he had any inappropriate actions whatsoever with his female leads. Now, he, unlike Depp, chose to settle things quietly, and I don't blame him. He doesn't want to sit there and fight. He's a director. He's in a different position, right? He needs to get movies and shows. He had a great show coming out, and now he's had to bow out of that because of these allegations. So, you know, I don't know how much money the man has. I mean, he did the first Avengers. I mean, he's got to have a lot of money, and he did the second too. So they both grossed a ridiculous amount of money, and he did get a good payday from Justice League. But, you know, not everyone's willing to be like JD and step up and lose future opportunities. Unfortunately, that's the sad part about this whole situation. Johnny Depp is like, yeah, I'll go head to head with them. I got the money. I'll make a comeback. But a lot of people aren't willing right now, especially in Corona times. They're not willing to go head to head with these studios, and they should. Because look at the state of the box office. Look at everything's going to streaming. I would fight these people tooth and nail. I would. I tell them, fuck off. Don't call me this label and you have no proof.
Oh, no, I would do the same thing. I mean, say, for example, if she finally decided to grow a pair, and come after us creators, I would get such sick joy. Like, well, just so you know, if you serve me with a subpoena, make sure that you contact me first so that I can have my advocate and my disability rights lawyer sitting right next to me, because if you don't, you are breaking ADA, Disability Bill of Rights laws, woman, and I will, with pleasure, press federal charges on you. So I'm kind of hoping she goes after her. She would think Depp was a saint by the time I was done.
Hey, Shelby Soup, good to see you here. And we have Kira here. Welcome, Kira. I don't know if I said hey to you, but yeah. Anyways, I try to keep this in about an hour. We talked about so much. I'm really touched you came on here and shared your story with me. I don't know what to say. Thank you so much, Jenny K. Hey, how are you? You know, I'm so glad that you came on here and you talked and you're brave. Like, look, you know, not to sound like, you know, a shill or anything like that, or at least that's what we call them. I respect the hell out of you. I think what you're doing is brave. I think how your channel approaches the information and how you thoroughly examine everything and you put stuff together, I think that it's great. And I really respect the hell out of the fight you're doing for your community. And guys, if you don't know, Miss Tiffany's channel is in the description. Go check that out. I'm sure the wonderful and awesome Cherry K has dropped that link. Go check your channel out. And yeah, do you have anything else coming out? You got any new videos or anything people can expect from your channel?
Well, I mean, other when I do streaming like this, it's very rare where I don't have a video coming out. I usually get out one every single day, and they're never really planned. I usually just go ahead and take a look at the news of the day from pretty much both of the communities and that I'm going to talk about. And then, so there's no real plan. I used to try and plan out these videos, but I find I do much better quality when I speak from the heart on each video rather than trying to plan on something in particular. So yes, I will keep probably popping out videos nearly every day in people's lives.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm laughing because I've been getting this a lot. I will converse with Robin and see what this AH defender has to say. I got to be honest with you guys. I'm not positive because of how I am. I'm afraid I might hurt their feelings and cause them to cry. And I don't want to be that guy because I really don't know them. If they say something completely ridiculous and outlandish, I may have to. But on other people's channels, I tend to not want to go off the rails like I can here. So, I'll speak with Rob and see what he has to say, or if he wants to just do it, him and this person one-on-one. I am going to be tuning in because I'm going to be curious as hell to see what this person has to defend Miss Heard with. I really want to know what in the world of God goes through a mind of an AH supporter. It's like when you see that crash, you're driving and you see a crash and you go, oh man, that's horrible. But you're sitting there staring and it's wrong. It's not right. Some people could be hurt. There could be something terrible there, but you have to look to the side of you just to see it. That's what I feel like this is going to be like. I know.
He was a special woman. I mean, it's like he was saying that she was innocent and then mentioning it was because he's a boxer, he's a man. Like, she's saying he could handle it, therefore he couldn't possibly be being abused, but she's innocent. I'm like, how does that work? I have picked up at my 90 to 100 pound usual weight self, have picked up a couch from the 80s, a long couch, and threw it into a wall. You're going to tell me that a woman can't do damage because he's a man? Are you kidding me?
The funniest argument is when men say that too, because I've pissed off my fair share of women as well, enough to get them angry enough to do that. You know what I mean? When you get into a disagreement, we all have them. But this whole dogmatic view, like, oh, she's a 90-pound woman, so she can't threaten someone massive. Like, have you seen JD? He's not exactly big and muscular like the Hulk or something. He's not Chris Hemsworth, okay? In Thor. That's not him, okay? So I don't buy this whole, oh, it's because she's a woman. Oh, and by the way, Miss Shelby, happy birthday. It's not one of those things where I hate that argument. That's if that's your only argument, then that is nonsense. I want to see some proof, some facts, something concrete, a document. I'll take a fucking receipt at this point. For anything.
Simple.
I mean, I think we can agree that that's a reasonable ask. I'm not asking for too much.
You should have receipts, right? I mean,
wait, Shelby, you're telling me lies. No. 56? No way. Are you sure it's not 26? She says 56. I'm doubting that. I'm calling 26, Shelby. Stop lying to me. No, definitely check her channel out. And yes, you dropped videos and I have a hard time retweeting them out. I go to sleep and I wake up and you got like a thing. I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna retweet it. You know what I mean? You got a wonderful channel. Go check her out. Thank you everybody for watching. If you guys don't know, I'm going to do a plug for Miss Justice for Depp is going to be having a 100 sub shindig coming up here. I may stop by because right now, to be honest with you, I am running on fumes as far as sleep. I did a wake up morning show with Loki. It was phenomenal. Two villains got together and we had a blast. And God, I'm tired, but I think I'm going to pop by there and say, hey, because let me tell you a story. I got to my 100th sub. If you guys know a little person who comes on my channel called Pop Culture PB, I I remember I was sitting at 99 and I'm driving down the road and I call Pop Culture PB because he's the first person I ever got their number off of YouTubing. And I said, man, this is distressing. And he does his, well, what is so distressing? And I was like, well, I'm sitting here at 99 and I go, man, I can't wait to hit 100 and do a little 100 celebration or whatever. And I just don't know if I'm going to get this last sub. And he goes, oh, you're at 100 right now. And I go, well, what are you talking about? He goes, oh yeah, I just subscribed. And so he hit the subscribe button, and Pop Culture PB will always have a place in Zod's heart because he is my 100th subscriber. And it was, it was just so funny how he did it because he did it in sarcastic PB fashion. He'd been watching me all this time and never subscribed. And then I got the 99 and he finally clicked the button and he's been literally on my channel ever since. And that's our story because, that's why we're such good friends, in case you guys were wondering. That's why he has a show with me. He was my 100th subscriber and he's been here on the channel when we've only had 4 people as opposed to 50. So, shout out to you, PB. I know you'll rewatch this and be like, what was the villain saying about me? But no, nothing but love. So everybody make sure you go check that out. And we all love you, appreciate you. Hop on over, go check out Justice for Depp's 100 sub celebration, because it is a proud moment when you reach those 100 subs. All of that hard work, you're finally in the double digits. So let's go show some love and support and get her to another 100, okay? I'll see y'all later. Thank you all for watching. Make sure you share this around. And as always, remember, there is only one rule here in the Fandom Zone. Kneel before Zod.